Yes, it's Tales from the Jails with John G. Sutton. Do please like and subscribe. It's just a click down below. And also down below I'm going to put a link to a video showing part of the BBC documentary filmed in 1979 by the BBC, directed by Rex Bloomstein. And in this video clip you will see Bootsy Brown, the famous Bootsy, who was infamous on the block. You'll also see myself attempting to form a independent trade union to represent non-supervisory grades of the prison service. The reason being that the union was being run by the management for the management, and what they were doing was gradually allowing the job to spiral down to the point where prison staff would be what they have effectively become today, turnkeys. I hate to say it, and I know it's a difficult job in there, and there are people working in Strangeways now, but they bear little resemblance to the setup that I worked in from 1975 to 1985. It doesn't bear a great deal of resemblance. Certainly we didn't have young girls working in the landings. We had blokes. And listen, it was considered in 1979 to be a profession. That's what it was then, and it was gradually being eroded. So today's little Tales from the Jails is all about the difference between Strangeways as it was in the 70s and Strangeways as it is today. What have we got today? Well, we've got what I call the hostess system, whereby we have 18-year-old girls parading up and down the landings with a set of keys locking male prisoners in, and it doesn't work because there are some sophisticated adult male inmates who will, without any shadow of a doubt, and have been proved to manipulate and corrupt these vulnerable young women. And generally young people in particular were not allowed into the prisons under the age of 21 when I worked there. Nowadays we've got the landing staffed by 18-year-olds in frilly pink knickers. I assume that's it. I don't want to be misogynistic, but it just seems to me to be totally and utterly wrong. And it isn't that long ago, I think it was HMP Wandsworth, where we had one of these female so-called prison officers allowing herself to be filmed being backscuttled by a inmate. And that went onto the internet. And it was also all over the papers, and indeed that female prison officer is now serving 15 months. A great example to us all, don't you think? Last year there were 165 prison officers prosecuted, convicted and dismissed from the service and sentenced by the courts for corruption and misdemeanours in public office. Back in the 70s when I was there, it was virtually unheard of. I'm not saying it didn't happen, but it was virtually unheard of for people to be so blatantly obvious about it and getting corrupted. But then again, this was Strangeways when it was Strangeways. Let me talk a little bit about Norman Brown. Now you'll see images of Norman Brown in the video clip down below. You'll see that. Just click on the video link and have a look. And you'll see Norman Brown. Now people are saying, oh, well, what's wrong with his ears? Listen, he was a hero, was Norman Brown, in the late Korean War in the 1950s. He was a commander of a tank unit, and he was badly burned in an attack when he was trapped in his tank and caught fire. So he was a hero, and he was a gentleman of the old school, shall we say. He believed that prisoners were prisoners and the staff could do no wrong. Also in this video clip you'll see Bootsy Brown, and he's talking about the whip hand that the Liberals and the do-gooders have got over society. He didn't have much of a whip hand at Strangeways, believe me, not with Norman Brown in command. I was at Strangeways one night, and it was New Year's Eve, and it would be about midnight, 1:45, and believe this or not, we were patrolling the landings. Everybody's in bed, fast asleep, and Norman Brown came in with a brass band. A brass band. They'd been playing in the club, for New Year's Eve, and he brought them in, put them in the central rotunda. You'll see that right at the start of this video clip. That's the central rotunda at Strangeways, and he got them to play. Started off with Silent Night, went on with Good King Wenceslas, Last Looked Out, full belt at virtually 1 o'clock in the morning. Strange night. The number of complaints the next day were quite amazing, really. People queuing up to complain. But who did they complain to? Norman Brown. And Norman Brown said, that couldn't possibly happen. You're wasting my time. Get out. Seriously. Now, back in the 70s, the staff were running the prison. It was what's known as a screws nick. And a screws nick is where the staff run the place like they think it should be run, professionally in the main part. But there was also quite a deal of what I would term as needless and pointless brutality and bullying. You'll see in the video below that there's a guy sitting to my left. And he's blathering on about how well the management have been running the trade union, and he was a member of the Freemasons. That is Fat Fred. I won't give you his full name, but just you can have a look at him. You can see what he is. An absolute arsehole. Yeah. I don't know where Fat Fred is today, but he was a bully when it came to the inmates. He bullied the inmates, and the arsehole crept round the management, and he did end up being the chairman of the Prison Officers Association at Strangeways. And if you were represented by Fat Fred as the leader of the POA, you were 100% certain to get sailed right down the river. I wouldn't allow him to represent my dog. Seriously. You can pick it up. You'll see the expression on my face as I hear him jabbering on. And you also hear me say then, on that video clip down there below, link, that I'm giving a talk to the meeting of the Prison Force Federation, of which I was the elected General Secretary. You'll hear me saying that if you treat inmates like dogs, then you must expect that before long you are going to get bitten. And that's exactly what happened with the Strangeways riot. There was no way to change that system other than to challenge it directly, which people like Alan Lord did when they got on the roof and took the beast out, which was it was a disgraceful system, but people at the time considered it to be a profession. I considered it to be a profession when I joined. It was disintegrating rapidly. The prison staff, when I was there, ran the courts. They ran the escort service. They ran the hospital watch service. They ran the prison hospital service, of which I was a hospital officer. And they say, hospital officer, you'll be a discipline officer, pounding the landings 1 minute and a nurse the next. Well, you actually went to the NHS and trained at NHS hospitals, hospitals for the criminally insane like Ashworth, where I was working, and main hospitals like the NHS general hospitals, where I did general nursing. before coming back as a hospital officer. So I was reasonably properly trained, yeah. And but I mean, it was a point of mind, you know. You're actually trying to help people, which I was trying to do. Of course, I was having to take direct instructions from medical officers, senior medical officers, who would regularly instruct me to administer intramuscular Largactil, which meant drawing a syringe of the stuff up, grabbing the inmate and injecting it into the upper outer quadrant of their right buttocks, which is where it went. That was my chosen target anyway, shall we say. So you can have a look and see the difference. I mean, the difference today is it's a different setup altogether. You can see that they had chief officers then. They do not have chief officers now. And I objected when I was in the prison service that they had chief officers as members of the Prison Officers Association. Because when you had a meeting and you stood up and said something controversial, they were taking notes. Seriously. And the national executive of the Prison Officers Association was, in a number of occasions, run by chief officers. So you had a so-called trade union that was, in actual fact, the management. No trade union should be the management, because managers manage and workers work, and that is what I'm saying. You just click on the link below and have a look at that. Also, I identified the landings and the cellular occupation as being the workplace. That was the shop floor. That's where we did our work. And as we were workers, we as workers should have been properly represented. The Prison Officers Association couldn't do that because they were the management. And so there's a big difference between Strangeways 1979 and Strangeways in 2025. Songdinger, folks. Yeah, it's time to head for the hills. Yeah, grab your goat, Larry, and run for it. I'm going to sing a song today that's quite pertinent, seeing that America is about to throw the world into complete chaos. And that idiot that's running it, Donald Trump, I think he's mentally deficient. I think he's probably little more than a puppet for the deep state that's running him, and that they're pulling his strings and he's doing what they want. Quite what the hidden agenda is, I don't know. Yeah. And on another note, as for that plane crash in Washington, D.C., there was somebody on that plane that they had to take out. You'll find it'll come out in the future. All right. So it was a deliberate assassination, and the people that were killed alongside them were cannon fodder. If you've ever played chess, they sacrificed a few pawns. Here we go. This is a song. I'll just ring it one more time just to make sure that you're aware that I'm about to make a rather strained noise, shall we say. Don't forget to like and subscribe and read my books, folks. It's all in there, and it's the truth, actually. This is Eve of Destruction, because I believe that we're rapidly heading for destruction. As I said, the way that Donald Trump is playing stupid games with his tariffs against Canada and Mexico and China, and next against the European Union, and no doubt against the United Kingdom. And there is absolutely going to be chaos. We're on the eve of destruction, folks. The Eastern world, it is exploding, violence flaring, bullets loading. You're old enough to kill, but not for voting. You don't believe in war, but what's that gun you're toting? And even the Jordan River has bodies floating, but you tell me over and over and over again, my friend, I don't believe we're on the eve of destruction. Don't you understand what I'm trying to say? And can't you feel the fears I'm feeling today? If the button is pushed, there's no running away. There's no one to save with the world in a grave. Take a look around you, boy. It's bound to scare you, boy. And you tell me over and over and over again, my friend, I don't believe we're on the eve of destruction. Yeah, my blood's so mad, feels like coagulating. I'm sitting here just contemplating. I can't twist the truth, it knows no regulation. Handful of senators don't pass legislation. A marches alone can't bring integration. When human respect is disintegrating, this old crazy world, well, it's just too frustrating. You tell me over and over and over again, my friend, you don't believe we're on the eve of destruction. Oh, think of all the hate there is in Red China. Then take a look around to Selma, Alabama. You may leave here for 4 days in space, but when you return, it's the same old place. The pounding of the drums, the pride and disgrace. You can bury your dead, but don't leave a trace. Hate your next door neighbor, but don't forget to say grace. And tell me over and over and over again, my friend, you don't believe we're on the eve of destruction. No, you don't believe we're on the eve of destruction. Well, there we are. Are we on the eve of destruction, folks? I don't know. I think so. I think we're in big trouble, is what I believe. And we're going to see it over the next 6 months. Yes, by the time we get to August, there's chaos. And we could be on the eve of destruction. That's Tales from the Jails with John G. Sutton. Do please like, subscribe, and leave some comments.